Big time possible fight of the night contender on the main card. Two Texans looking to throw down. We have You Have to Call Me Dragon, Jonathan Martinez, taking on Adrian Yanez out of Metro Boomin' Metro Fight Club.
I love this fight.
I couldn't be more excited about it. Again, we slagged the UFC when they had these Apex cards constantly. The small cage, less viewership, less in terms of crowd feel. If this was in front of a crowd in Texas, the top of the roof would blow off. Houston would go nuts for these two guys. And when you look at this one, Adrian Yanez looking to rebound. He was on a crazy wild win streak up until he fought Rob Font. A big favorite up against Font, Matt, and he wasn't able to get it done.
That's a step up, though.
165 was Yanez, and 5,733 Tapology votes, 72% had Yanez to win. So now all of a sudden, is he fried liver, chopped liver, whatever you want to say? I don't think he is. He's taken on an ever-game Jonathan Martinez, who, though he did win his last fight against Said Nurmagomedov, a lot of people thought that Nurmagomedov had won that fight 2-1. But Martinez on his climb, on his grind. If you look at both of these guys, couple of wins, couple of losses, but they've really taken on a high-level competition.
Definitely.
And if you want to play tinfoil at MMA math, you could say, well, Matt, Davey Grant, he beat Jonathan Martinez. Davey Grant lost to Adrian Yanez. But when I look at this fight, Matt, I'm sure all the people out there, they already know this. You have a pure MMA boxer in Adrian Yanez. He's not a brawler. He's a technical boxer. He's going to mix that jab to the body, mix in the hook, come up top, and throw good combinations. And he's one of those guys that maybe in the first round he downloads the game plan, especially against the kicker, and then he figures it out and he dismantles you. Jonathan Martinez, tricky sidewinder, throws a lot of kicks. But when the fight's getting tight, just like his fight against Turbo Alejandro Perez, he gets dropped at the end of that first round, even though he won the round, which doesn't happen very often in MMA scoring. So when it does come down to this one, this is going to be the big talking point. Boxing out of Yanez, complete game from Jonathan Martinez, and usually the kicker can beat the boxer unless they get crowded out.
I've made a couple of wrestling references, so let's make it 3. Do you remember Eric Bischoff?
Oh, yeah.
His walkout song, I'm back and better than ever. Jonathan Martinez was wrote off by a lot of people because he was similar to Adrian Yanez, a pretty hyped up prospect at one point. I understand for different reasons.
Hold on. Nobody was pumping up Jonathan Martinez in Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada against Andre Sukumtoth.
You know for a fact I was. How dare you?
No!
I have been on this Jonathan Martinez train, win, lose,
You just
or
ruined the
draw.
audio for everyone.
I did not. This is
Yes,
my
you
point
did.
for Jonathan Martinez, though. He was very hyped up with his fighting style, more so than what you could do on the mic. Yanez is much more personable. He does a lot of big interviews and whatnot, and people do like what he's able to say and do in the cage. But for Martinez, he was putting on pretty exciting performances, and he was going out there and getting stoppages too, at least to a certain degree.
Jonathan Martinez's number one descriptor would be shy?
That's what I mean. But his fights were good. That's my whole point. They were getting views different ways. But for Martinez, he was a hyped up prospect. And I understand that striking defense has always kind of been the big issue for him. He will stand a little long at range, but range is where he does have the majority of his success. He is phenomenal when he's able to implement the kicks in with his combinations. And I honestly think he's on a short list of some of the better kickboxers in this division when he is able to flow with his combinations just because of how strong those kicks are. But you bring it up. If Yanez can get on the inside, it's like when Shannon Briggs fought in K1, right? If I get close to them, they can't kick me. And if Yanez can get on the inside and negate a lot of the dynamic kicks and movement that Martinez brings into the cage, I think he could hit him with a lot of those shots. And the thing about Yanez is his hand speed is so phenomenal. I don't think he has like 10 out of 10 power, right? I don't think he has soft hands by any means, but the thing that catches his opponents off guard is how quick he's able to let the hands go from point A to point B. And once he is able to connect, he makes his opponents feel uncomfortable. And that's where Martinez, we can see, start to fall off. When he starts to get hit, when he starts to overthink on the back foot, that's when his fights can start to fall apart. And that's why I think this fight's so interesting, because Martinez, I think, can fight a very similar fight to a Randy Costa, right? Keep it at kicking range, use your volume and use your steadiness to really damage Yanez before he's able to download that game plan. But if Yanez is able to download that near the end of the first round, start of the second round, it might be a difficult stretch for Martinez. But the thing I will say about both guys is they both do have pretty good cardio, so I don't think this is a fight where, it gets to the third round, you automatically favor one over the other.
And again, Martinez coming off a controversial win over Said Nurmagomedov. I know it reads as a unanimous decision, but a lot of folks, I thought the Nurmagomedov won it against Cub Swanson, Jonathan Martinez with the leg kicks. A big story there. Vince Morales decision win over Alejandro Perez, and then of course over Zviad Lajashvili, who you probably won't see in the UFC. He had a hard time with the commission and USADA. So when you look at it from Martinez, though, again, tricky sidewinder, throws a lot of kicks, mixes in the boxing combinations. My biggest comparison in MMA is up a weight class to the Canadian Charles Jourdain. Charles will switch stances more, but part and parcel of the game plans are the same, except when Charles gets hit, there's a plan B and a plan C, and he tends to bite down on the mouthpiece and just fights a little bit harder. Whereas Martinez, sometimes he can't get out of that first gear if you pour it on. And for Yanez, even though he lost his last fight against Rob Font, you think of the head kick against Victor Rodriguez, you think of the forward motion against some of these guys, fast. Davey Grant as well. Yanez, first half of that first round, double jab, right hand, double jab, and then all of a sudden Rob Font's eye is starting to swell up. Rob Font lands, he rocks him with a flurry punctuated by a right hook, it drops Yanez, and that's the end of the fight. Now Yanez coming off that first UFC loss to a fizz of Dr. Pepper, and he's got to try and get a win in this one. Matt, the odds are at par in this matchup. Yanez just coming off that loss, looking to rebound, and his last loss, it was a really close fight against Miles Johns, and he was able to rebound really well. Some of the wins, Gustavo Lopez, Octagon champ Gustavo Lopez, Randy Costa, Davey Grant, Tony Kelly, and the aforementioned...
Tony Kelly wanted a rematch.
Victor Rodriguez. Tony Kelly wants a lot of things he's not going to get. Matt, when you do look at this one, we have a look at the Topology vote. Surprise us there to you. The fans love these two fighters, so I'm eager to hear from you guys in the comments on this too. I'm going to say over under 65% Yanez, even though it's at par.
I'm going to say under, so it's probably over.
It's the opposite. Oh boy.
Wow.
11-11 Make-A-Wish. 1,111 total votes. 55% Martinez. 77% have him to win by decision. For the 45% that have Yanez, 70% by knockout. I think this goes to a decision. But I have a hard time trying to pick a winner. And I am going with Jonathan Martinez because I think the kicks...
I can't believe we're doing another high five.
No, I think the kicks are going to be able to do it.
I think the knees of the middle are. That's what my big point was. I think he's going to be able to negate some of the forward pressure Yanez brings into the cage because Martinez will go for that tie clinch and throw his knees up the middle. And if he's able to do that, I bring up this example all the time. Cowboy Cerrone versus Eddie Alvarez. How he was able to negate some of that forward pressure with the boxing of Eddie Alvarez was throw check knees up the middle to meet him there. And it does at least keep him at bay for a little bit.
Now, two ways that these guys can learn from one another. Jonathan Martinez has a loss in the UFC to Andre Ewell. Andre Ewell doesn't kick. Andre Ewell doesn't really do anything other than box with his length. And what did he do? He kept Jonathan Martinez away from him, utilized his boxing combinations, went to the body, but mostly to the head, and he got a decision win over Martinez and really tripled up on the strikes in that one. It wasn't all that close. When you just look at the numbers without looking at that fight, you got to go back and watch the fight too. For Yanez, you look at the fight that he had against Davey Grant, and he beats Davey Grant, but by the numbers again, it paints a picture. 40 strikes to the head for Davey Grant in that one, 18 to the leg. Adrian Yanez, 66 to the head, 20 to the leg, but 40 to the body for Grant, 14 for Yanez to the body. If you keep Yanez away and you work at his body, there is a path there. Now, Yanez did beat Grant. It was a close fight at the very end, whereas Grant beat Martinez. But all that to say, I like Martinez. I like the attacks to the body, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight. Matt, some big-time fights left on this card. Main event, co-main event. You're not going to want to miss them. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.